there's a lot of uncertainty out there right now, and there's a lot of misinformation too. So we're taking your coronavirus questions straight to our experts tonight and every night. Just tweet us your questions, including video format if you'd like, to @FoxNewsNight on Twitter. All right, providing your answers tonight, Fox News medical contributor Dr. Jeanette Neshwat, also orthopedic surgeon Dr. Ashgar Hussain, and former Army flight surgeon and also a congressman from Tennessee, Mark Green. Thank you all for being with us tonight. Great to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, Congressman / Dr. Green, I will start with you tonight. Our first question via Twitter comes to us from Silviana Corsetti, who says, my elderly parents were supposed to fly back home to Illinois last week. I changed their flight to March 31. My question, will it be safe enough for them to fly back yet, or should they stay in Arizona longer?
Yeah, I think, Shannon, I would advise this young lady that she probably should keep her parents in Arizona if the area where they are in Arizona is pretty safe. Illinois is very early in its curve. There's a little over 3,000 cases there, most of them in Chicago, the vast majority in Chicago. But right now they're early in the curve, and I think it would be best for them to stay in Arizona if they can. So.
Okay, our next question comes to us from My Two Cents. Does having had a pneumonia shot offer any additional protection against COVID-19? Dr. Hussain, what do you say?
Yeah, so the pneumonia shot is a vaccine against a bacteria called strep pneumonia, and it does not give you any protection that we're aware of for COVID-19.
Okay, so don't count on that to protect you there. All right, Dr. Neshwat, our next tweet comes in from David Benjamin. Says, what are the exact symptoms differences between coronavirus and the regular flu? Will they be easy to notice? How tough is that differentiation if you're trying to decide that you need to move forward, with a test or further medical attention?
So fortunately, we have an influenza test to help us differentiate because some of the symptoms, or many of the symptoms, overlap. They're the same: cough, fever, shortness of breath, body aches, sometimes headaches, sore throat, GI symptoms. So many of the symptoms are the same. But what we tend to see right now with COVID-19 is it's causing severe respiratory distress. Now, that's not to say that that can't happen with influenza, but that's a common trend that we're seeing right now with COVID-19. And in addition to that, we fortunately have a vaccine and medications to treat influenza, which we do not have yet with COVID-19. But many of the symptoms are the same, but we have the testing to differentiate as of right now, which is very good.
Okay. Now, this next question got my attention for a lot of reasons. It comes from Sharon Kemp. She says, question for the doctor, can swabbing antibiotic ointment in your nose be helpful with any viruses? Now, I may be very close to someone who likes to put Neosporin on a Q-tip in their nostrils before they fly. So when I saw this question, I grew up in a house where Neosporin cures everything. So Congressman Green, I'll ask you, can putting that ointment up your nose help at all in this scenario?
No, unfortunately not. The nasal antibiotics covers, there are people that are MRSA carriers, the MRSA, Staph aureus, and the antibiotic that they put in their nose to kill that is very effective for that bacteria, but it won't help with COVID-19, unfortunately. There are no topicals for this virus. The cold sore has a cyclovir that you can take as a topical, but we haven't gotten there with COVID-19 yet.
Okay. Mary McMasters is the next Twitter question for us. She says, myself and husband, both 60. He's in excellent health. Me, COPD. He works nights at Walmart, stocking and now cleaning. Am I at high risk of him bringing it home to me? Dr. Hussain, what would you advise this couple?
Yeah, so perhaps. So COPD is a disease of the lungs, and we know that COVID-19 will preferentially affect lung tissue. So what that means is your husband needs to take some precautions when he gets home. Social distancing is kind of hard at home, so many people are not advising that that is the case. However, washing hands with soap and water and changing clothes, some even recommend taking a shower, those are some good precautions to at least take. Those are actually what I do as well.
All right, take that extra step when you get home. Okay, we now have a video question. This is from Benjamin and Dylan.
Hi Shannon, how much does warm weather affect the spread of the coronavirus?
And what is the chance that the vaccine for the coronavirus will be in this year's flu shot?
Okay, so two questions there, Dr. Neshwat. How much will warm weather affect the spread, do we know? And what's the chance the vaccine for coronavirus will be in this year's flu shot?
Hey, Benjamin and Dylan, very good questions. So I just read a study that came out yesterday out of MIT that showed actually it's humidity and the warm temperature, both humidity and temperature, that might help diminish the amount of viral infections. Typically, viruses, they thrive in cold weather. So we hope and pray that we'll see a reduced number of cases once the warmer weather approaches us. Now, right now, the vaccine that is under trial is only being tested alone for COVID-19, not in conjunction with the influenza virus. But that's a good idea to combine 2 in 1. I hope that we won't have to have a routine yearly vaccine for COVID-19, but right now it's being tested and tried alone, not in conjunction with the flu shot. So you're still going to want to get your flu shot every year until maybe one day there is a combo viral vaccine, which would be a great idea. Save you from an extra prick.
Folks are fast. Exactly, and we know that people are working around the clock on this COVID vaccine, and we've had the human volunteers that are now starting testing as well. We know it's a long process. And before we take a quick break, we have a question that has come in via email that says, what's the difference between a respirator and a ventilator? Congressman Green, can you explain?
Sure. The respirator just basically protects the person who is basically the healthcare workers. We wear respirators that are fitted to each healthcare worker. The ventilator actually takes care of the patient, and it breathes for the patient. It, pushes air in with a certain amount of pressure. It leaves a certain amount of pressure when the person, when it breathes out for the patient. So that the ventilator works for the patient, the respirator works for the healthcare provider.
Okay, doctors, stand by. Thank you very much. We have many more questions for you. In the meantime, we want to update. This is a bit of breaking news we got at the top of the show. A new medical development tonight, a new coronavirus test. It could be complete in 15 minutes or less. It's been authorized for emergency use by the Food and Drug Administration. Abbott Laboratories, the creator of the new test, says it plans to start delivering 50,000 tests per day starting next week.
It generates an accurate test result in a matter of minutes instead of hours or days. And that enables the healthcare provider to see a patient, diagnose a patient, and take the necessary interventions in a very short amount of time, and can help prevent further transmissions to other people.
Dramatically speeding up testing is seen as a key to accurately tracking the virus and getting a handle on stopping it. Coming up, the doctors stick around to answer more of your questions. Tweet us at Fox News Night to join the conversation. Welcome back to Fox News at Night. You have got more questions about the coronavirus pandemic, and we are lucky to have some experts with us. Tonight, our medical panel is made up of Dr. Jeanette Neshwat and Dr. Ashgar Hussain, and also we've got Mark Green, who is both a doctor and a congressman. They're all sticking around with us. Thank you all for being here. I want to start right up another Twitter question. This comes to us from Reactionary Info. Is there anyone looking at herbal or alternative approaches to combating coronavirus? Dr. Hussain, I heard some of this coming out from China. There's been some conflicting information and some controversy about them talking about potential herbal remedies. Would there be any?
Right, so we all know how popular herbal and alternative treatments are in general, not only in this country, but in China. However, we also know that there is no scientific evidence that would support the use of herbal or alternative remedies in either preventing or treating COVID-19 infection. With that said, there are many anecdotal reports about it being used, especially in China. They had several groups that they looked at, but we don't have enough evidence to really support it. With that said, it doesn't mean you shouldn't take it, but at the same time, we don't have any evidence to support making that a recommendation.
Okay. Takes us to our next question from Bobby Hunley. How safe is fresh produce, and would soaking it in vinegar water help? Dr. Neshwat, any advice for folks that, listen, the grocery stores are still stocking it, but I also look around as I'm keeping my distance, wondering how many people have touched this before I bought it. What's your advice?
Sure. So the risk of transmission from food and food packaging is very low. the greater risk of contracting this virus is from if someone is coughing or sneezing and you're nearby. But it's always a good idea. Wash your produce, wash it in the sink. And then before you eat, make sure you wash your hands. That's the key, washing your hands. I would not soak in vinegar. It might give you, if you do that routinely, your fruit can absorb that vinegar. It could give you an upset stomach. It could give you heartburn. It's okay to clean the fruit and produce with a little bit of vinegar, but I wouldn't necessarily soak. But washing and then washing your hands before you eat is the key.
Okay. Wendy then tweets in, can someone ask Shannon Bream, that's me, why the mail hasn't stopped and Amazon deliveries, etc., if the virus stays on items? Now listen, Dr. Green, I'm going to leave this to you because I'm no expert on this, but we keep having this conversation about whether you should be worried about packages delivered to your door or mail.
Yeah, there's a study out of, I think it was Montana, a virology lab there done by the NIH that showed that the virus actually lives on packaging like cardboard for a day or so, about 24 hours. The one thing is that they don't know what the viral load is to cause an infection. So just because it's alive on the package for a day, they don't know if it could infect anybody yet. And since most packages arrive a day later, you're probably safe. So.
And again, we're all washing our hands 24 times a day, so
Sure.
That is our answer for everything when in doubt.
Amen.
Okay,
Yes.
J. May tweets in, there has been a lot of attention about the elderly with underlying health conditions being most vulnerable. My question is about my underlying health condition, adrenal insufficiency. If school goes back in session, should I stay home or should I go back? Dr. Hussein, with that particular medical issue.
Right. Well, as of right now, my answer would be stay home, only because adrenal insufficiency is still considered to be a vulnerable population. And one of the reasons is one of the treatments that we use is the use of steroids. And steroids at this point in time would pose an elevated risk in dealing with COVID-19 and is associated with less ideal outcomes. So for the moment, with what we know right now, obviously we're learning a lot as we go, my advice would be to stay home.
Okay, I want to sneak in one more question before this break. This one comes in from Laluda. For someone who has had coronavirus, whether they showed symptoms or not, and recovered, is it still possible to be a carrier? I wouldn't want to think that I was safe, but still be a danger to spread this to others. Dr. Neshwat.
Well, that's very considerate of you to be concerned. Once you have recovered, that means you're healed. Whether you have symptoms or not, then your body develops antibodies, which means you should no longer be contagious. You should no longer be shedding or spreading viral particles. So you will not be a carrier. Your body should develop antibodies to protect you so that you do not develop this disease again, hopefully, and you should not be able to pass it to other people. Now, after you, few days after recovery from this virus, it is still possible to shed viral particles, but you can be tested after you have the virus. And usually when they say if you have 2 negative tests, then you're good to go back to work and back to your normal activity. But no, you're not a carrier. You should be healed and good to go after full recovery.
Okay. All right. This is your last chance. If you want to get a question to our doctor, tweet us to @FoxNewsNight. Our doctor's going to take a few more questions before we wrap up. That's next. Welcome back to Fox News at Night. Since the first hour, we did this. Your response to these question and answer sessions has been incredible. So we've been able to go very deep, keep it going with tonight's medical panel, because we still have a lot of your questions that you sent in. Doctors Jeanette Neshwat, Ashgar Hussein, and also Mark Green, who happens to be a congressman and a medical doctor. They're rejoining us for a final round of questions. Okay, Dr. Hussein, let's start with you. Bobby Torres says, does the HIPAA or privacy law on medical information apply at this time? And I know from my years ago as an employment lawyer, I mean, this primarily has to do with medical providers and a number of other entities, but we're getting this question, it seems, in the context of a lot of people wanting to know if their coworkers have been sick or diagnosed and being very, frankly, upset that their employer is not filling them in. Tell us how this all works together at this point.
Right, so the idea is really to protect our own health information, and given that we are currently in an emergency situation with this pandemic, the HIPAA has been modified to allow for not getting consent from the patient in situations that will directly help the patient. So I'm summarizing a whole bunch of really boring guidelines. But basically what they mean is if you are in need of a medical assistance and someone taking care of you or someone involved in your team knows that you're COVID-19, then they can transmit that information to your health provider without your consent. So generally these are meant with the intention of trying to help the patient, help provide medical care, help save your life.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Dr. Green, Lori Quintal says, are HVAC systems in apartment buildings, like in New York City, recirculating air that may be infected, similar to cruise ships? Why is no one talking about this? And I've gotten this question too. If you're caring for someone at home who does have COVID-19, even if you've got them sectioned off into one room, if it's a central heating and air system, should you be worried about that?
No, I don't think so. Not right yet. We don't have enough evidence to suggest what droplet size actually transmits the illness. So there's a lot of research that still has to be done. And the studies that were done on the Princess cruise ship, we don't know if it was HVAC transmission or just close proximity. So there's just not enough research yet. So a little too early yet.
Okay, Dr. Neshwa, Gloria Perry asks, what is the best way to handle items delivered, like from the grocery or a restaurant? Because we know, and I got a lot of friends in this area trying to keep their restaurants open through delivery, through pickup. How should you handle things that are delivered to your home, that are food products?
Sure. Yeah. So again, the risk of transmission is very low, very unlikely, but still possible. So when you receive a package, some people, just to be safe, some people like to wear gloves, but many people don't have gloves, which is fine. What you could do is have the delivery person leave it at the door. You can bring in the packaging into the home and then discard the packaging. And then the key is, again, wash your hands before you handle the food or before you eat the food. That's the best way to help protect yourself. And prevent the spread.
That seems like the best advice. Any questions? Okay, Renee Ventura, can you ask the panel if the virus can attach itself to pollen and ragweed in the air? We're going into pollen season, especially here in Florida. Dr. Hussein.
No, in general, the virus doesn't need anything to attach to, and so it can survive in the air on its own. And as has been pointed out before, there have been some studies that are showing that it can survive for perhaps even a few hours in the air. The thing is, we don't really know what is the actual dose that's out there. What is the air quality? We know temperature, humidity, airflow all play a role, but generally, no, it doesn't really need anything to attach to.
Okay, our next question comes from The Power of Love, which is a very inspiring Twitter name. Hello, Shannon. I live in Omaha, Nebraska. Our hospital here is treating and providing research for COVID-19. They are using ultraviolet lighting to decontaminate PPE. That's a protective gear that medical folks wear, so it can be used more than once. Why isn't everybody doing this? Dr. Green, what do you know about that? Because I've been hearing about the UV light usage too.
Sure. It's a fascinating idea. UVC light has been shown to even kill aerosolized influenza, so there's a lot of hope for it. And in our bio research facilities, they use UV light to clear people when they come out of the contaminated zones and things like that. So it's a novel idea. I'm excited to hear that they're actually doing it. I don't know that there are studies out there that show that it actually clears PPE, but I mean HVC or UVC works, and so I mean it's worth looking into. It certainly makes logical sense.
All right, well, we know that there is a big push to get as much PPE out there, the masks, the gowns, the shields, everything that can be done. We've seen so many creative ways that people are trying to help, and companies are trying to gear up that they can help as well, so that we don't have to worry about our frontline folks having to reuse any of this. All right, Dr. Neshwa, Dr. Hussein, Congressman and Dr. Green, good to have all of you with us. Thanks for being up late and answering these questions. It's very reassuring to folks to hear from you, so we appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having us on.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks for having us on.